Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Leandra, and if you read by the title, I'm going to be ranking all of the Stephen King books that I've read. And yeah, let's just get into it. Is Salem's Lot. I have a love-hate relationship with this book. But basically it's about Ben Mears. He's an author. He returns to a town that he lived in when he was a child to get some answers about this mansion, the Marstein house. That's how I pronounce, yeah, Marstein, that's how I pronounced it, so hopefully that's right. And it's about vampires. I had such a hard time with this book when I first started reading it because there's so many characters and I had a hard time keeping up, so I got about quarter way through and realized I was reading with my eyes and not my brain, so I literally restarted it because I was dead set on reading it. And once I restarted it and I wrote down all the characters' names and was like, okay, Ben is this guy and Susan is this girl, and I finally got through it, loved it. And then I actually just reread this book in June and I'm gonna give her 4 stars. That's pretty high. I think that's a pretty high number, 4 stars out of 5. So next is Carrie. Carrie was published, I'm now finding out how to see when they were published, 1974. So Salem's Lot was 1975, 1974. Braden got this for me for our 3-year anniversary, and I read it for the first time in 2021. I read a lot of Stephen King books in 2021. Carrie, seen the movie, loved the movie. Obviously, I've seen most of these movies when I was younger because my parents just have really great taste in movies, and that's where my love of horror stemmed from. So when I got older, I was like, I can't be a horror fan without like reading the books, which obviously is totally not true, but that's why I started reading all these Stephen King books. And Carrie is about a girl who has a gift. She can move things with her mind, and she gets bullied. So when you have that kind of power and you get bullied, you're going to use it to your advantage. And I love the movie. I love the book. The only thing I didn't like about the book, which I'm going to get a lot of hate for, because a lot of people love the FBI scenes where they're in questioning, and like they would cut from the story to the FBI scenes where they're getting questioned, and I didn't really like that part because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like that part, but I'm going to give it, I can't give it 4. I'm going to give it 3 stars. Don't hate me. Don't come for me. I love Carrie. I love the story. I'm going to give the book 3 stars. Because you know when like you have that urge to want to reread a book? I just don't have that urge with Carrie. I don't like have the urge to reread her anytime soon. Next book is The Outsider. This is a newer book published in 2018. So this is, damn it. That was scary. If I rewatch this and there's a ghost behind me. Sorry y'all, I have the big light on now because my ring light keeps getting shut off by this ghost and I'm not playing around. So I got both lights on now. Anyway, for the 3rd time, the next book is The Outsider. This was published in 2018. It is about a top tier citizen who is the coach of some sort. What is he? He's a little league coach. And he's committed this awful crime. I mean, he had to have, because there's been multiple witnesses that say that he did this crime and he disappeared out of nowhere. But Terry Matland seems like a nice guy, but is he wearing another face? When the answer is revealed, it will shock you, as only master storyteller Stephen King can. I'm going to give this book 3 stars. I don't think I would reread it. Actually, I'm going to give it 2 stars because if Carrie is at number 3, he's going to be at number 2. It was really good. I actually really liked some of the characters, and the ending was kind of cool and kind of creepy, but I just don't have that urge to reread her anytime soon. And now it's a TV series, which I have not looked into, but if you watched it and it's good, let me know. Books are always better though. Okay, next we have a book called Later, and this was published in 2022. It is about the son of a struggling single mother. Jamie Conklin just wants an ordinary childhood, but Jamie is no ordinary child. Born with an unnatural ability his mom urges him to keep secret, Jamie can see what no one else can see and learn what no one else can learn. But the cost of using this ability is higher than Jamie can imagine, as he discovers when an NYPD detective draws him into the pursuit of a killer who has threatened to strike from beyond the grave. Later is Stephen King at his finest. A terrifying and touching story of innocence lost in the trails that test our sense of right and wrong. This book I've read twice, and it is 5 stars. It's an easy read for anyone. I mean, like, look at this. How many pages? 263 pages. So easy. I read this in less than 4 days, which my mom can read a book in one sitting. But not me. I love this book. Highly, 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 highly recommend. I hope they make it into a classic Stephen King picture. And yes, go read this book. Next book, The Shining, classic. When did this come out? This was published in 1977, which is crazy because that's a year after my mother was born. I love The Shining. It's a classic. It's my brother's favorite Stephen King horror movie. At least that's what he told me. I don't know if that's still accurate. The book was great. I had a little hard time getting into it. I feel like I always have a hard time getting into a book. But once I got in there, I will say what's crazy is in the movie, which everybody's familiar with, I feel like, they have the maze, you know. In the book, it's not a maze. It's animal-shaped shrubs. You know, like the bushes that Edward Scissorhands cuts, except animals. As you can see, like, we got the animals right here. Terrifying. Terrifying. I'm gonna give her 4 stars because it's just a classic. I just can't not. Next, Stephen King's Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to the classic Shining. Does it compare to The Shining? I think it's really good. I really enjoyed the book a lot. I love to see where Danny's at, you know. Sorry, I didn't explain that, but I feel like everybody knows what happened in The Shining. I don't feel like I have to give you a rundown. But yeah, this just shows what Danny's up to years from now, and he meets other people that also have the shine and are also being haunted by these scary ghosts. And there's like an actual evil villain that sucks the magic and kills people that have the shine for their own personal. Am I explaining this right? I'm gonna go ahead and give this 3 stars. It's good. But like, why did Danny have to become an alcoholic? Like, he should have learned from his dad. Like, anyway, next. Stephen King, The Body, which the movie adaptation is actually called Stand By Me, classic. I really love the book. I love that the director stayed true to the book. Everything that was in the book was in the movie, and it's phenomenal. So obviously 5 stars. When was this published? 1982. So crazy. So crazy. Did I give it? I gave it 5 stars, right? Next up, Shawshank Redemption. I feel like if you're a Stephen King fan, like, these books are so, first of all, if you love the movies, read the books, because look how small these are. These are easy reads, and they're just so stinking good. In Shawshank Redemption, the book, loved it. 5 stars, of course. I don't even have to explain myself. The book is incredible. The movies are incredible. It was published in 1982. I will say the director was extremely true to the book. Same with Stand By Me. I love how in the book, Red is actually a white man with red hair with ginger hair. And I love that they kept that, even though Morgan Freeman played Red. I love that they still called him Red, even though his nickname was Red because he was a ginger. I don't know, just little things like that I love. And also another thing I love about Stephen King is he will reference his other books in other books. What a god, literally. Next, Pet Sematary. Classic. I love this book. Definitely one for the rereads. When was this published? 1983. Love. I really loved how in this book it explains that Judd buries his wife in the pet cemetery, and it also explains like when she comes back from the dead how brutal she was and how heartless obviously she was, and she said so many terrible things. That was probably my favorite part of this book. I really loved it. I'm gonna give her 4 stars. Next book is called Under the Dome. This was published in 2009. I don't really like how there's no summary of the book anywhere, so I can't really explain to you what I can explain to you what I know of it. And it's essentially a town where a clear dome gets like dropped onto the town, and the people are locked in and the people are locked out. Nobody can get in. And it basically shows this town going into a complete frenzy because, like, they're trapped. I started reading this. I was completely hooked. So good. Started with all these different perspectives. It tells you from when the dome drops over the little town, right when that happens, to what happens afterwards. There's a lot of different characters, which was hard to keep up with. And then once they introduced the military to the book, I kind of lost it. Like, I couldn't keep reading because there's just so many characters. And then they introduced the military, which is just not my vibe, so I stopped reading it. I do want to try and give it another go, because like the first few chapters I was hooked. I was like, this is going to be incredible. The idea behind it is incredible. And then I just gave up on it. Definitely one for the rereads. And I'm going to give her 2 stars. Just not even because Stephen King's writing, just because my brain isn't smart enough to comprehend and keep up with all the different characters and the story. So not your fault, Stephen. It's not your fault. The next book, which is actually the first Stephen King book that I've ever read, is The Green Mile. Classic. All these are classics, I feel like. I found this series at the thrift store. I never knew that they were in parts like this. We got part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. There's 6 parts. I actually really like that about this book because it's less intimidating when you have just like this small little chapter book versus this big fat book. I love this book. If you've read the book or watched the movie, you know that the main characters are, what's his name? I think Paul, who is the security guard on the Green Mile, and John Coffey, who is convicted of murdering 2 young girls. And he has this magical gift, which is a common theme you see in Stephen King books, where he actually heals people. And he was just, I'm not gonna reveal. 5 stars. Do I even have to explain why it's 5 stars? It is the next day. I am editing this video and I lost the footage of Misery, so I just wanted to talk about it real fast. This book was published in 1987. Now, I have seen the film before when I was younger, and I briefly remembered it, but I do know that I remembered Kathy Bates playing Annie Wilkes so well. Like, when I read this book for the first time, I could not picture anybody else besides Kathy Bates, because she just killed the role. This is about a best-selling novelist, Paul Sheldon thinks he's finally free of Misery, his book series. In a controversial career move, he's just killed off the popular protagonist of his beloved romance series in favor of expanding his creative horizons. But such a change doesn't come without consequences. After a near-fatal car accident in rural Colorado leaves his body broken, Paul finds himself at the mercy of the terrifying rescuer who's nursing him back to health, his self-proclaimed #1 fan, Annie Wilkes. Annie is very upset over what Paul did to Misery and demands that he find a way to bring her back by writing a new novel, his best yet, and one that's all for her. After all, Paul has all the time in the world to do so as a prisoner in her isolated house, and Annie has some very persuasive and violent methods to get exactly what she wants. This gets 5 stars for me. When I first read it, it was winter. It set the settings with all the snow and everything. Kept me on the edge of my seat. The suspense. It was just good. If you haven't read or watched the movie, I recommend doing both. I personally love reading the book and then watching the movie and then seeing all the things that they didn't do and then being like, why can't you just add that to the movie? Like, if it's in the book, add it to the movie. But yeah, I just wanted to get on here and talk about it real fast. And the last Stephen King book that I've read, which feels kind of crazy because I feel like I've read way more Stephen King books than this, is called The Institute, which was published in 2020, I think? 2019. I'm going to read the back just because it is kind of newer, so maybe you don't know what this is about. In the middle of the night, intruders silently murder young Luke Ellis's parents and steal him away from his suburban Minneapolis home, an operation that takes less than 2 minutes. Luke will wake up in a faraway room that looks just like his own, except there's no window, and outside his door are several other doors, behind which are several other kids with very special abilities who arrived at wherever here is in the same way Luke did. They are localized in the area known as front half, which is a good thing. No one ever returns from back half. Nevertheless, the incarcerated children are intended to serve, given that the staff is ruthlessly dedicated to extracting the force of their external gifts. Cooperation is rewarded and resistance means brutality. And as each new victim disappears to back half, Luke becomes increasingly desperate to somehow find a way out and get help, even though no one has ever escaped from the living hell known as the Institute. I read this book twice. I will read it again. This is a 5-star book for me. So good. The suspense kept me at the edge of my seat, and this is another one that I really hope they make into a movie if it's done right, of course. So good. I'm giving her 5 stars. Highly recommend. All right, those are all of the Stephen King books that I've read so far. If there is a Stephen King book that's not in this list, comment them down below if you want me to read them. I'm totally open to reading new books. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what your rankings are in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video if you come by later.